18 SSL should be what it's.
It will work.
I know. I've never failed.
Hello, everyone. Thank you
We always have
for coming on this
Awesome.
Sunday morning.
SSL. Yep, it's the same.
We're still trying to get some technical issues started, but in the meantime, we'll see if we can get some introductions. So
Let's try
we'll
to
start
get
with
both on each.
Dr. Angelique Bacon-Woodard.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone,
We can try
and
that.
welcome to our presentation on utilizing iPads and interactive, well, actually, it's an interactive software in guided study groups with Penn State Learning. We are having some minor technical difficulties, as you can see right now, so we apologize for that. We can go old school with just a straight PowerPoint, but what we wanted to do was have the students demonstrate how they are actually using iPads and the iClickers in their guided study groups. So, again, my name is Angelique, and I oversee the Guided Study Groups program in Penn State Learning, and we're just going to do some quick introductions with our group here, our team, and then we'll wait maybe another 1 or 2 minutes and see if we can't resolve the issue. Okay? So we'll turn it over to Jason.
Hi, I'm Jason Lee. I'm the graduate assistant for Penn State Learning. I'm a PhD candidate in curriculum instruction, and I work with Dr. Angelique. And I also oversee the GSG sessions as a supervisor. I also help with their project. And I'm very excited to present what we have today if we can get the Doceri working.
Edward?
Hello, everybody. My name is Edward Yu. I'm a junior finance student studying the Symposium College of Business. I work with Angelique, Jason, and Dr. Hager here for a first-year business calculus class called Math 110. And this is my 4th semester with this program.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lindsay Simock, and I am a senior in the chemical engineering program with a minor in chemistry, and this is my 4th semester as the Chem 110 Guided Study Group leader.
Hi, my name is Jason Sampat. I'm a senior life science major. This is my 5th semester working with Penn State Learning, and I'm the Chemistry 210 Guided Study Group leader.
And as Edward briefly alluded to, Dr. Hager, who is hiding right now, is also part of this team, whether he likes it or not. He's been trying to pretend that he's not involved and leave it up to the students. So, Dr. Jim Hager, if you'd like to introduce yourself to the
Sure. I'm with the math department, and we consume a lot of these wonderful technologies. We have an extensive data analysis program going on to see how our first-year programs are doing in the large lecture hall and small forum for the business calculus, the life science calculus, the engineering calculus. And of all the things we've looked at, I'll just hedge a little bit. We've looked at a variety of different intervention programs, these guided study groups, and some of this technology is going to compete very well in performance assessment. So we're very happy.
Okay, without accessing the slides, because they need that Doceri screen up at least for another minute or two to get online there. The whole premise behind the Guided Study Groups program is to provide an out-of-class academic support program for students who are primarily enrolled in large lecture classes. Many of the classes that we work with are large lecture with anywhere from 100 to 300 plus, several sections and so forth. We are basing our model on a collaborative learning theory, and I'm not trying to insult the audience, but most of us know that collaborative learning pretty much entails that learners are very diverse, learning takes place in a variety of contexts. We also know that learning is very social. The premise behind the Guided Study Groups program is to provide a safe and welcoming learning environment for students. Many students who are in our large lecture classes are somewhat intimidated to go to the faculty member to ask for help, perhaps go to their teaching assistant during office hours for fear of appearing stupid or dumb. However, they are very comfortable in going to their peers. Our peers happen to be students who've taken the course previously, so they've had the course at least once. These leaders are placed in over 55 to 60 different classrooms every single week. We have study sessions that run Sundays through Thursdays. We have about 18 courses that we work with, and right now we have 21 student leaders who are supporting their peers in these sessions. in these sessions, primarily the students are engaged in a social learning environment in which they can bring questions from not only the textbook, the lectures, the homework, WebAssign, you name it, and come work in groups. We get our students up to the blackboard, they're working in peers, they're working just simply together, just trying to discern what I know, what I don't know, how to build on some of the foundational information. With respect to the use of the technology, I'm going to bump it over to Jason right now. We're going to talk about why we're using technology, in particular why we've chosen to use the iPads to support our students in a different collaborative environment.
So the rationale for the program pilot, how we started to use Doceri, it was kind of for a search for searching for more interactive and teaching learning tools to enhance the GSG studies. And the idea came from Dr. Hager's class, where he has used iPad and the Doceri app for his course lectures, Math 110. And later on, it evolved with the Educational Technology Service and trying to make it more a collaborative environment, if we could actually show the demonstration. So what are we looking for in these programs? I mean, through these technologies, we're thinking that we can enhance the critical thinking and problem-solving skills. We can develop the organizational and information processing skills, develop skills to help with transference of knowledge gained in course lectures and recitation classes to the GSG sessions, and also develop students' understanding and confidence for mathematical and scientific inquiry. Sadly, I'm not a mathematical or scientific major. I cannot give you any examples from that. And also we try to develop teamwork skills, where we try to really emphasize on the group activity and to make it more of a collaborative environment. And so, down to the point, why are we using technology in classrooms? Of course, a lot of people say, yes, it's a trend. I mean, we have all these iPads, we have computers, we have the Wi-Fi, we can get connected to the internet anywhere right now. And it also makes you really cool when you don't have to hold on to those big, bulky laptops anymore and hold an iPad in the classroom. But what it actually does is, it doesn't just teach you. I mean, it doesn't teach the students about something, but it helps the students to engage in something. It acts as more of a tool to let the students to engage in certain activities. And also, technology can be considered as reflection tools that helps the students to challenging tasks and also let them to emphasize on their subjects. So, what kind of technology we use in classrooms? As Angelique said prior to my presentation, she said that every week we get 55 to 60 sessions on campus. We try to utilize the school's Angel, and we use PowerPoints, the course web materials. We have the group leaders here who uses iPads and Doceri apps to use it in classrooms. From what I have observed, for example, in math, you can draw graphs. Everyone can take turns to participate in a certain problems. And also it lets the teacher to get off of the podium and become an audience with the students, which is actually a very big different view changer if you actually see it in the classroom. And also Jason, also over there, he also uses iClickers, which we hopefully can see the demonstration today. And the Doceri app is working. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
So I will turn over the presentation over to Edward, Lindsay, and Jason, and we'll get to see some demonstration. I think Edward will go ahead.
All right, good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Edward. I facilitate Math 110. Just a quick background for the class. It's an introductory calculus class for business students, for students like me who are majoring in finance, management, marketing, supply chain, all the majors in business. About half or more than half of the students that come to me to these sessions they've never been exposed to calculus. They've never had calculus in high school, and then they don't planning on having calculus after this course. So,
You're an exception.
So yeah, especially like usually I have about 20 to 80 students on any given night, and most of them are just saying, hey, I don't know anything about it, I just want to get it over with. All I want is a C or a B. So the struggle I found with those students is they don't really know what's going on. They try to remember the formulas, they try to, remember the equations, but then when that exam comes, when they're sitting with 400 of their peers, they forget about all of that because they don't know what's going on behind those formulas, they don't know what's going on behind those theories. So this is when the iPad and the Doceri app really comes into use. And I've been using it for 2 semesters, and I found it really great. So I'm just going to show very, very few examples with you guys because I only have about 3 minutes, so I can't go through all of that. Let's look at the first one. This is actually chapter 2, the very first introductory to taking derivatives, and this is one of the 4 rules we're taught in this class. This is the quotient rule. This is a rather very complicated rule. I know not for you guys here, but for a lot of marketing and management students, because it just have a lot of functions, and that the order here specifically is very important. So a lot of time they think, hey, can I take the derivative of the bottom equation first? Can I switch the order? I don't remember all of that. With Doceri app, I not only can draw it on my slide instead of just having on the board, that saves a lot of time and confusion, but also I can be with the students, so I don't have to be here by the podium. I can walk down here with the students, and I have the iPad in my hand, and also use some different colors to highlight different things, so they can visually see that, okay, I'm taking the bottom derivative in that yellow first, and then take on the first original. Yeah.
Just a question, the don't expand and stuff, was that stuff you wrote during the thing, or did
Yeah.
you do that ahead of time?
Okay, so that's a great question. Everything that's like in print is my PowerPoint I prepared before that. Everything that's kind of messy, that's that's on the fly, right? So and that leads to my next great point is for Dr. Hager in this class, it's all multiple choice. So another key to succeed in this course is to have your answer match the answer on the answer sheet. Because for math, there's different forms, and for a lot of students, if the forms don't match up, even though they do have the right answer, they end up losing that 5%. So that's when this comes really handy. I can literally just draw an arrow and say, okay, please don't expand that bottom equation because on the answer sheet, Dr. Hager won't expand it. If you expand it, it's just going to be a pain at the end for you to go back again. So again, that's another way I use this PowerPoint. All right, here's the other question. This is actually what we did in class a couple of weeks ago. It's a section where you have to sketch curves. For this class, it's all multiple choice, so a lot of students think, hey, it's not going to be on the exam. There's no way they're going to ask me to sketch curves. But the way they ask this question is they ask you to find this asymptote, to find the whole, or to find the local max or local min. So for this way, I can hand over this iPad to a student, have those axes on it, and say, hey, give me a scenario where there's a vertical asymptote. Give me an example where there's a hole on the graph. What's going on that hole? Or what's going on at those 2 pink dots? So this way, it really gets them involved in thinking, okay, if I'm canceling this part of the equation off from the top and bottom equation, that's what I'm creating on the graph. And then this way, and it's also a little less intimidating because, again, they don't have to be on the board. They can just be at the comfort of their seat. I'll just hand over my iPad. The next one I have here is this class is created in a way that has 2 very separate parts. First part is differentiation. The next part is integration. For myself, I've never seen integration in high school. Coming out of college, this is really new to me. Especially when you see that huge integral, it just looks really, really intimidating, at least for business students. So over here, I have all that white space or green space, and I can draw a curve, and then I can draw those yellow line, and then hand over my iPad to a student, or do it myself, say, hey, that gray area is what we're trying to find. So when you actually have a number 5, you know, okay, that's what's going on. That's what's going on in a graph, and how is it different than, I guess, derivatives or second derivative applications. All right, so this is the last slide I have. Again, I feel the Doceri app is very, very useful for these type of sections where there's a lot of graphing, there's a lot of changing concavities or changing growth rate because again, it's very graphical. So over here you can see, all right, I have those green dots there. There are not any specific points, right? Because you don't see a change of sign. That's why I have the pluses and minuses there. Then you see the yellow dot on top. That's a relative max. And again, the red ones are relative min. And you can not only see that, you can also see, okay, it's from decreasing to increasing to nothing to increasing. Because a lot of time when I'm saying that to students, I might just catch them, wandering around where they're just not paying attention. This way, if I have it on the slide with me, and when I gather their attention back, they wouldn't be missing anything. They can still see it on the graph, and then they can catch me, even though I've already said that. At this point, I would really, really like for you guys to help me to do a live demonstration. And then it'll be fun. Trust me, I know my audience here. It won't be challenging. If it's not challenging for us business students, it wouldn't be bad. It'll be really short. The purpose of this is just show you how you can actually utilize this.
Are you drawing that right now?
Yeah, I'm actually just drawing this on my board right now. So.
You're just using your finger.
What's that?
You're just using your finger.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's the neat thing about it. So if I say over here, I can say hi.
Does it make the line straight for you?
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah, so see, that's kind of neat, right?
Magic graphic.
And then, again, yeah, for here you can use the straight line to draw your axes or any sort of polynomial functions, things like that. So it's a pretty neat app.
And you can integrate these with other packages. We do in some classrooms when we use it. So if you know you're drawing circles and triangles, it can sense within some radius that you're trying to draw one of these and snap them to a regular figure. I think when you use it one way, but
Yeah.
it's also being used in an active learning sense, where students drift off, you're walking down the stairs. We
Right.
haven't done much of that recently, but Math 34 does, and you hand them the iPad, and you make the student start a problem, and that keeps everyone sort of aware. If you give the students the Doceri access that Edward will give you now, then they don't have to copy notes. All of that stuff is then available on their iPad. They walk out the door with your lecture, all the annotations, all the silly, embarrassing moments that you intruded in a class. And on the online versions of these things, we create virtual whiteboards for multiple clusters around the country. We put 5 students on a whiteboard, 5 students on another whiteboard, 5 in a particular online class, and make them collaborate doing whatever they're going to tell you to do here in a moment. So there's a lot of variety of ways to use this.
All right, so can I have a volunteer? See, this is usually what happens at my own class. Okay, thank you. Could you please just draw any kind of function, and then just please let me know one key feature about the function. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Great. All right, thank you. So again, you can have the student drawing that, and then you can say, okay, let's say for the second exam that's coming up for us in a couple weeks, we're going to be tested on first derivative and second derivative analysis. For this one, you can literally just be like, okay, let me change color real quick so you have different options. Or even better is I can say, okay, right here, that is my relative max. Actually, I chose the wrong color for this lady. If this is in yellow, then you can really see that contrast. And then over here, you can see that's a relative min, right? And then a couple other ways you can use this is you can say, okay, the concavity over here is a concave up. And then just all different sort of cool things, right? And also, you can also blow it up like that. So maybe you're just writing a little equation here. It won't be as big there, but then it gives you that convenience just writing it on your iPad because a lot of us have chubby fingers and it wouldn't work out that well sometimes. So yeah, thank you so much for helping me. And now I'm going to turn the presentation to my peer, Lindsay, for Cam. Thanks.
All right, good morning, everyone. So, as Edward showed you how to use this area with math. I'm going to show you how I use it with chemistry. Okay. All right.
Can I interject? These iPads are connected to each other, so I'm not touching the mouse. They're remotely doing it themselves, and Jason can write on his iPad right now if he wants, right on top of her screen and so forth, but they're told not to touch it.
It's very tempting.
So that's the danger of multiple iPads in a single classroom. So I just wanted to let you know that you do have the capability of just being away from your computer podium and being out in the crowd.
Okay. So I believe when I teach Chem 110 that the periodic table is very essential to the students' learning and understanding. So they are allowed to have a periodic table on all of the exams. Even though it is blank, I encourage students to work off of a periodic table that is already filled in, labeled, and has a bunch of different colors throughout the semester. And so this is generally the starter type session that I would use Doceri for to get students more comfortable with the periodic table. So as you can see, this would be 4 bullet points that I would ask all of the students to label, and it was something that we could do together. I would do it using my iPad, however, I would give the students crayons to do it on their individual periodic tables that are in their course packets. And then that way they can follow along with me. So, the 4 bullet points are to 1, label all of the orbitals on the periodic table by using the highlighter function and coloring them in. 2, write the charges of common ions on the periodic table. That will be done just using the regular pencil. 3, write the trends for radius and electronegativity. Those will be done using arrows and pen as well. And then the largest element and most electronegative element will be done using a circle. So, we're going to go to the next slide. And this is the periodic table of elements that all of the students have in their Chem 110 course packet. It's the exact same thing. And so I use a stylus because my fingers are too fat and my long nails get in the way. So, first thing that I'm going to do is zoom in, and as you saw Edward do it, you just use 2 fingers to zoom in and then to move it. But you will not see that up there, you will just see a constant screen. So I have to zoom in to draw. So I'm going to highlight all of the s orbitals purple. So it is simple as literally like you're coloring. So as I color with my stylus, they would color with their crayons. So that would be all of the s orbitals. Now I'm going to do the P in a different color. We will make it green for the time being. Or, I don't know, whatever color you want to call that this morning. And then I'm actually going to ask Jason to finish coloring the D's and the F's in 2 different colors, but I will label them with the pencil function. So you should see both of us doing it at the same time. Notice I'm not doing that. Jason did that. Okay, so I successfully labeled all of the orbitals on the periodic table. Now I'm going to label the charges of the common ions. And once again, I'm going to zoom in really far. As you can see, it gets a little blurred on my screen. But I need to write it in a neat way. So all of the elements in the group 1 will have a common charge of +1, 2A, a common charge of +2. I'm going to move over to group 7A has a charge of -1, 6A, -2, and the common one that I always tell students to remember is aluminum that has a charge of +3. Now the next thing is to label the trends for increasing radius and electronegativity. So I'm going to use the line function. I'm going to make it black so you can see me draw the line. And we are going to do radius. Radius is over and down on the periodic table, just as I have it drawn. And then I am going to use the pencil function to write the increasing radius. I won't write the whole word, but I will write increasing radius. And take some getting used to writing, but writing with a stylus I find is a lot easier. So now I will leave increasing electronegativity out for now, and I will just circle the largest element on the periodic table. And that would be FR. Now I will also use the pencil to write largest element. And then I will tell you a joke and you can all laugh at me. Because I feel as though incorporating everyday objects into chemistry is the best way to learn it. So the silly joke that I tell students on how to remember that francium is the largest element, the abbreviation is FR. It has a fluffy radius, and if something is fluffy, it's generally large. So that is how they would laugh at me. So now I will leave someone do the increasing electronegativity trend. For anyone that wants to do it, you can do it the same way that I did, doing the line and using the pencil function on how to write it. I will show you the trend, if you wish. Anyone? No?
Dr.
Don't be
Bojan?
shy. Dr. Bojan? Would you like to? Alright.
Why, you never give a student a choice. You hand them the iPad and hand them the stylus. Say right.
What am I supposed to put on here again?
Increasing electronegativity. Okay, now this right here is the line.
Increasing electronegativity. And then lift up,
Yep.
and then you can, let's see, we want to go up.
Okay.
Oh, how do I,
Stop.
and then make the line.
There you go.
Okay, so I can make it here now.
Now you can use the number 2. And you can go here again.
It's about 35.
I can do that for you. And you can write electronegativity.
While you have this here,
Mhm.
is it possible to type on it? Because I can see handwriting becoming an issue.
I don't know if you can type in Doceri. I don't
No.
believe you can.
No, but they are trying to integrate with things like Evernote and all these other note-taking packages. I expect pretty soon everyone's going to be able to sort of type this and record and do a lot of different things that they have.
Okay. Hold on. You can use the eraser tool up. There we go. And you can write most electronegative or most EN is how I have it. So then I do writing that one. Oh, no, this one. There you go.
And these are the dangers of having an excited student with the Doceri in their hand, if they want to keep going.
Not right today?
Yeah.
Sometimes,
the idea.
it's good. Sometimes the trick with these is to not rest your palm on the screen, because if you rest the palm of your hand on the screen, it'll override it.
There's actually a wrist guard on this
There is a
thing.
wrist guard.
Yeah, you can flip it up and then the bottom of that would just.
So, that is the most electronegative element. So now that is our interactive periodic table today, and the one that I had created with the students looks similar. But this is the one that I created with the students, and I demonstrated the common trends of the periodic table. So I encourage students then to, after they have drawn with their crayons and written these trends on there, to continue using the periodic table that they would color in one of the first sessions throughout the semester and get familiar with it and understand it, so that when they go to exams, everything is fresh into their memory. So I'm going to turn it now over to Jason, and he will talk about how he uses Doceri in Chem 210.
Thank Thank you. Once again, my name is Jason Sampat. I'm the Chem 210 GSG leader. So I work with chemistry as well, but instead dealing a little bit more with organic chemistry, which is quite complex sometimes. And instead of just having to think about things happening and molecules interacting with each other, it really helps to visualize it and to kind of see things. But in organic chemistry, as you can see, so this would be a sample problem. Some of these things can get a little complex to just freehand write and draw again. All right, that would take a significant amount of time if a student had a question and I wanted to really answer something out. Okay, hold on, let me draw it on the board for you so you can see it better. And that takes a lot of time. Rather than that, I can just pull up the exam, the actual question that they're talking about, and draw right on it. And say, okay, instead of just pointing at it with the laser pointer, hey, are you looking right here? I can physically just go on, and I can even add to this right now. I can go on and say, hey, are you paying attention? Like, are you looking at this section right here? If you look coming in from there, or, I can do a number of different things. I can highlight this up here and say, hey, that's our area of focus. That's what we're talking about. So it's pretty useful because you can do this on a number of different things. The one thing that some people often think is that we have to pre-upload these slides and we have to have them ready and synchronized. And I can take anything and draw on it. I can put a video up on YouTube, and while it's playing, I can be drawing on it. I can go up on the course website where they're posting the news and the updates or the assignments for the week, and I can highlight things that I think are important. So you can do a number of different things. This doesn't have to be anything that you upload ahead of time or anything new that you have to do. You can carry out your normal lecture, but just do it from here. And rather than have to just point to things, it makes it easier to significantly draw. Also with this, so this would be question 15 that we would be talking about, and let's say I had let the students work on it. And one student came up to me and said, or they raised their hand and they said, I don't understand, what is C trying to say? I don't really understand that. As they showed before, I can zoom straight in on C, and let's say you had a question about C, I could come here and just talk to you about C and say, hey, this is what this means, this is what it's doing. But that's not disturbing any of the other students. They don't see anything. So they're still working on the problem. It doesn't take away from them working on the problem, but it also encourages students to ask more questions because they don't feel like, hey, I have to announce the entire class that I have a problem with C. And then I have to stand up here and explain just to one person what's going on with C. It encourages them to be a little bit more open and a little bit more enough to asking questions. Yes?
Can you zoom in on C for the whole class if you want to?
I would have to go to the computer and do that manually. But it is possible to do that. And I do that often when, let's say the question was a little small, I would have to go up and make it a little bit larger. But unfortunately, if I were to zoom in here, it only zooms in on here for me to see. So that's one little aspect. But usually, if I know what questions I'm asking ahead of time, I can kind of predict when I would have to zoom in for a question and when I wouldn't. So I can kind of plan ahead for that. But as of right now, I do not know if you can do that. Yes?
Can you also remove, because it looks like you've been in here, you've done a couple, drawn a couple different lines, and now it looks kind of cluttered. So can you actually erase some of what's there? So
what I just drew, so the original slide that we had up was just a screenshot, so that's kind of set in. But if I had a fresh slide, I could definitely just start going backwards and say, okay, now that we're done with all that, I can refresh it, make it nice and clean. Unfortunately, everything else that's written on right now was just a screenshot from class.
Okay.
But we can show later, I can show you a little bit later when I do an example, perhaps how that would work. This is an example of taking the lecture notes, the exact notes that the students are writing on in class, to printing these out, taking it to lecture. I can pull those up and say, hey, hey, in lecture today we talked about this. This is what I would have wrote. Or this is what I thought was important. Or did you get all of this from lecture? And it's ways of showing exactly, this is exactly what students are doing, and you're doing the same thing. If I had this sheet of notes, this is what I would have written on it. And it makes things just a little bit easier to see for some students rather than writing it all out differently on a board and having students copy down those notes but having trouble applying it to maybe a visual aid or a slide such as this. So I can write directly on it. So when I got this slide, there's nothing written on it. And I wrote all of this just live in class based on what we were talking about with the students. So none of this is pre-done. Well, now it is, but of course when I did it in class, it was all just live. But what I actually utilize as well, along with the Doceri app, is I utilize iClickers, which we all will be demonstrating in a little bit with the clickers at your desk. But here's some examples of how I utilize the iClickers. I'll take an exact exam, the exam that they had in class. We're working on practice questions. And rather than have students just work on it alone and then just have me answer it at the board, I can open the iClickers and just poll the class on what they got for, let's say, question 27. The cool thing about iClickers is you don't have to upload anything. For those of you who haven't used iClickers before, you don't have to preload your questions. You don't have to synchronize it to the iClickers. I can easily just pull up anything and just open a poll. I can even say, hey, as you guys come in, press A if you had a good weekend, press B if you had a bad weekend. And students can come in and record their responses. So you don't need to load anything. You really don't even need a question if you just wanted to poll people. Everyone pick your favorite letter, and you can do that too. So it's pretty cool, and not only can I do that, but I can control everything right here from the from the iPad. I won't have to go over there. I won't have to do anything like that. So these are some examples of how I utilize the iClickers in the sessions. Number 19, if you look up the answers, I know it's a little small for some of you guys in the back, but if you look, it's a spread of answers between A, B, D, and E, and none of them are really favored by that much. So this allows me to see, hey, where are students lacking a little bit? Where might, the material been a little light, or what might they maybe have any questions with? This also helps me see how many students need more time. It keeps track of how many students are done the question and submitted their responses. Rather than stand in front, and I know I do it, I know other professors have done it, who needs more time? Do we need another minute? Do we need 30 seconds? Nobody ever responds, so we're just guessing by how many people are still writing. Some of the people never started writing in the first place. So we really have no idea how much time's left. Well, this gives me a great idea. If I know how many students are in the class, I know how many students have done the question. Then I can also pull up the responses and see, are they at least getting the right answers? If they're doing something wrong, I can just easily go on here and say, hey, a lot of us are picking E. But what I want you to remember is that we're looking for a bond that's perpendicular to the double bond here. So remember, the double bond's right there. We want something that has electron density above and below the axis. So that would be above and below the axis. So I can easily go right on here, and students are allowed to change their responses. So let's say they picked A to start. If I wanted them to pick a different answer and I kind of push them away from A, I could easily see this trend shift as they change their answers, and let's say E or B or any of those answers would start to change. So it allows for a little control. You can manipulate things a little bit if you see students kind of going in the wrong direction. Yes?
Can you see the graph and have them not see it?
No, not at the time, unless I were to blank the screen. I can have the responses recorded without the graph being there. So students will be sending in their responses without seeing any responses of anyone else at the time. So normally what I would do, and we'll do it as we go. I'll do it in an example. Actually, I can show it to you right now.
So if they see what other people are doing, it influence them.
It would, and I actually conduct it without showing the chart. And we're going to do that right now. Let's give it a try.
You can see it on the clicker base, though.
Yes, you can see it on the clicker base over here.
You'll see the answers.
Yes, that's actually.
Well,
So
it's on the base, on the podium, so they
Okay.
can't see that.
So the clicker base is right here, and in every classroom that basically has a podium, it'll have a clicker base in it, so we'll be able to use that. So let's really quick just do an example since we had some trouble getting some volunteers earlier. This is a great example because you don't need to be a volunteer. Everyone can participate. So if you go to turn on your iClickers, I'm going to ask you guys a quick question. Let's say students are struggling with just counting the numbers of carbons in a molecule. I could easily, rather than go through my material and find a question that relates to it, I could just hand draw a question right here. And for those of you that are not well trained in chemistry, this would be a molecule, and anything at any end of a line or any intersection of a line is going to represent carbon. So my question for you is, how many carbons are located in this molecule? So I can easily, just by hand, say A, is it 4? B, is it 6? C, is it 7? Or D, is it 9? And then we can go ahead and just come down here, start the poll. And so it's recording responses. If you look at the bottom of the screen, it's recording. I can see how many people are recording their responses. 19 people have recorded, 24, 26. If I go over to the base, it'll tell me exactly what everybody's reporting. And then once we get to a certain number, so you can also change your responses. If you thought it was 1 and you want to change it to something else, you can do that as well. So I believe that's probably a good amount. So we're just going to go ahead. I can stop the poll from here, right here, without doing anything. And then once I stop the poll, I can hit show the results. It'll show me exactly what everyone reported. Okay? So I can see that 74% of people in here got the question right. Congrats. Some of the other people. So unfortunately, I don't know ahead of time who got it correct and didn't. I know you can register it with Angel so you can see exactly what responses were recorded. You can record this so it'll keep track for the entire semester what students have been getting right, who has the highest percentage, and things like that. So it's really useful, it's really cool, and it's anonymous, so students are more likely to respond, or might not be anonymous if you choose for it not to be. So that's basically my demonstration of using Doceri with the iClickers and everything like that. At this time, we are going to open it to questions or send it back to Angelique. So.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty. Okay, we are running a little short. Our moderator's about to cut us off here. First of all, thank you for your patience in the beginning. We were trapped by the firewall, and even though we were here at 9:30 trying to get it to work, we were still troubleshooting a little bit. I would like to give a special thanks to several people. Some are in the room and some are not. One, to Dr. Jim Hager. He was using the Doceri app in his Math 110 course last spring, and we've been working with Dr. Hager for many years, and he's very supportive of the guided study groups, and I'm always looking for some interactive ways to help our students in their out-of-class learning. So it was like, ooh, let's give this a try and see if we can experiment a little bit. So I wrote a proposal to Alan Gerke and his colleagues in Education Technology Services to pilot a Doceri program where we would have them support us by providing some iPads and some tech support. Brian Young and David Test have been very instrumental in helping us behind the scenes, keep the students moving, troubleshooting and so forth, and it's been an amazing experiment. We will say that the students' leaders do not overuse the iPads in their study sessions. The point of the study sessions is to allow students to bring their questions to the table. Also, they are challenged with a lot of problem sets that our leaders will present and so forth, so they'll use it intermittently. Some students like it, some are scared to death of it because they're afraid of making a mistake and so forth. Again, what we're trying to do is create an interactive, safe environment for them. I would like to thank the panel here. I must tell you, I am one of the luckiest individuals in the world. These leaders are amazing, and I'll get teary-eyed, which is kind of weird. So without them, in terms of their flexibility, the care that they have for their peers, their willingness to kind of let it all hang out and experiment, I truly appreciate that. Jason also, my right-hand person here as well. So it's been a wonderful team. We're still experimenting. We have 2 more iPads out there with 2 leaders, one who's using it for Math 200 and 201, which is an elementary math, and she is so excited because elementary majors like to do really fun coloring kind of things and manipulating tools, and the other one is now using it in biology. So we'll continue to experiment, see how this works, and hope that students have the opportunity to gain a little bit of insight with respect to what's happening in lecture, but transferring some of that information into our peer-to-peer learning context. So I would like to again thank everyone who's been involved, particularly Alan's area in Educational Technology Services. But we'll open the floor up maybe for 1 or 2 questions to the panel or myself, and then we're going to get cut off here. Yes, please.
All right, super quick question. Have you guys seen an increase in student retention rates or their grades as a result, A, of the study groups, and B, of the increasing use of technology with the study groups?
I'm going to turn it over to Jim Hager.
Okay.
Because he
Yeah,
can
I'd be
speak to
glad
that.
to tell you specifically about that. The math department's getting an extreme amount of pressure to show credibility on their FitCap placement test and these intervention programs like this across all the first and second year math classes. So for 2 years, we've been working a study. We've collected oodles of data from classrooms. We make people, when they go to these guided study groups, sign in. We know how many times per week they're going, how many times they go to drop-in tutoring at Penn State Learning, how many times they go to our Common Core office hours amongst the professors, how many times they go to oral assessments, a lot of types of intervention programs. And a lot of those intervention programs are not doing as well as we thought. They're not contributing to success. But of the couple that are, the guided study groups are doing very well. There's a strong correlation between success rates as judged by CBA or not withdrawing from the class. And we're looking at this not just for performance, but for retention at the College of Science. How many people can we keep in after a year or so? We're ecstatic with the guided study groups. And Penn State Learning pays for some of them. The math department pays for some of them, and some of them we share the costs. And what we've been able to get from Penn State Learning is closed loop analysis. Instead of just doing things and not knowing about them,
Right.
they collect a lot of data for us. We run our models internally with statistical consulting. We like this.
Cool, thank you.
If I can add, just last fall, we had over 8,500 student contacts coming through our guided study groups. And these students come back over and over again, and not just for one course. I'll turn around and I'll be in Math 140, and I'll see the same student in Chem 110, and I'll go to another class and they're in Econ 104, and it's just amazing. They just build it into their schedule. They love the leaders. Again, it's a tribute to them in terms of the environment that they create. And we're gonna go to Mary Jo, Dr. Bojan, and then we'll let the next group come in. So.
My quick question is it just you, the leaders, that have the iPad, or do all your students have them?
Just the leaders.
Just that.
So at least in terms of other people doing this, it's not a huge investment, like I could do this in my classes.
There is, really, the way it works is most of the classrooms on campus have a Doceri server already on the podium. You go to iTunes and you download a free version of the client, and you're connected. You just need that link. That it's really very minor cost.
And again, ETS has been amazing. Brian Young, he has run around the classrooms with me. He comes and helps leaders. So he's very available and flexible to support you if you are interested. And at this time, we'll be around in the hallway to chat with you. But thank you very much for your time, particularly in the beginning, and have a great day.
I saw something. Is that it? No, that's not it. No, that's not.
Sure. Whatever.
Thank God they told me on that.
I would have no idea.
So all these.
No, let me have that blue one.
Oh.